Okay, gang, how we doing?
Awesome.
Hello.
Hey,
All four. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're all present and accounted for.
We got the band back together.
no one's on assignment this week.
That's right. That's right. Some of us wish I were, but that's only me, probably. Not you. It's me. It's not you. So accessible. It seems we're all here. So that meets one factor of the word. So this word was brought to you by Lee York. It was her idea. So Lee, how are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm doing great. So you get the floor. What brought you to this word? I know we were trying to, in Slack, we were trying to go about some other things, but we ended up on this one.
Well, we didn't have a consensus and we needed a word. So that was the beginning.
Time. Okay.
But if we're just being honest. But Jody mentioned that she was getting a lot of calls with questions from agents that really those questions should be directed towards their broker, right? And I think we all have that experience. And when she had the conversation with them, it was they couldn't get a hold of their broker, right? And then I also thought about, clients, like maybe I have a listing and a client calls and starts asking questions. And I say, are you working with a realtor? Because that's what we do, right? So are you working with a realtor? And they go, oh yeah, but I didn't want to bother her. Or yeah, but she's on vacation, or I couldn't get a hold of her, or, whatever. So then I started thinking, as agents, we talk about accessible, is our broker accessible, or are our resources acceptable? But then I think there's also a conversation to be had about, are we accessible to the people who need us, like our clients and other realtors?
Right.
So that's how I got there.
I like it. Jody, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I like the blue.
How's Louisiana? You don't know. You haven't been out, right?
It's surprisingly not oppressively hot. It's just it's a little warm, but not oppressively hot yet. So that's
so good. Should I tell you that the word snow is in our forecast here in New England?
Crazy town.
What?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't.
I'm unfamiliar with that term.
I don't need to be accessible to snow. Can I just say that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you can always move to Texas. We've had this conversation.
Still snows in Fort Worth. Don't call it Dallas.
Yeah.
It's not snow. Once every 10 years it goes.
Get ice.
We digress. Let's get back to our word. Sorry.
So I think there are two sides almost to this coin. So as Lee said, I mentioned after doing a number of these virtual programs, I had people reach out to me asking me questions, some about some of the topics I had, but it was not generically, it was like specifically to them, their transaction or et cetera. And I thought they should be reaching out to their broker. So I literally said to one, that question should be answered by your broker. And they're like, I can't reach them. Wow. And so, but I think there's also another side of the coin. So having been in management and above managers in offices, I have heard people say that about managers that I know live, breathe, and eat their office. They're there all the time. They're they've got cell phones that they pick up almost 24 hours a day and et cetera. So is it, I am not accessible or you don't choose to access this thing? I think there's almost two sides to the story of, do you choose to ask me that question? Because, a lot of times people, and I know you all have experienced this in class as well, people start their question by, this is a dumb question, right? Which drives me crazy because I always say the only question that's dumb is the one you don't bother to ask, right? But is that part of the problem? Are they afraid to ask their broker a question? I think this is an issue with our industry and if we don't know how to go about giving access and getting access, how do we then extend that to where Lee went with our clients? You know, are we so badly trained that we're then training our clients to reach out to Lee instead of calling me because they're my clients, et cetera?
There was a lot there. There's a lot to unpack. Holy smokes. So Evan, from an accessibility standpoint, you're the resident broker. So, you know, how do you feel about the piece that Jody had to say about that? Do you consider yourself accessible?
Yeah, here's how I look at it. I think that you should make your own rules as far as how you want to operate your business, and you should be clear about what those rules are to the people you work with. You know, when you're available, when you're not available, you know, boundaries is part of the whole accessibility thing. So that's working with clients. For me as a broker, I'm available 24/7 to my agents. You know, if I'm in a spot that I can pick up the phone or text back, they're reaching out to me because they need something, and I'm available to them. And I try to stick to that. Even here, like if somebody were to try to get a hold of me while we're talking, as soon as we hang up, I'm getting back to them because I'm trying to support them in their business. But the boundaries are a lot tighter with clients. You know, I'm not picking up the phone at 9 o'clock on a weeknight for a lead. You know what I'm saying? So it depends who the audience is.
Yeah, I think accessibility also has to do with approachability, right? And kind of going to what Jody said is if somebody doesn't feel comfortable asking their broker, you know, to some degree that's approachable. I mean, do they feel comfortable coming to you to ask those things? And
right.
I mean, I think there's a function to some degree of that. So,
well, Brent, don't you think that kind of ties into what we were talking about last week with community, where we started talking about like cliques and factions within the group? And I think the vibe that you put out, you know, almost like approachable, is similar. You know, just because you have a phone number doesn't necessarily mean that people feel comfortable to reach you on that phone number. So there's more than just the literal part of it, right? There's the vibe.
I understand the vibe. As most of you know, I'm rather introverted, so I prefer not to be accessible by most people. So you know, that doesn't equate to not successful. At least I hope not. But you know, can you that's sort of my take on the accessibility is you choose your avenue, and I think it's a business decision. You know, to some degree, I don't want to talk to everybody. I don't want to be accessible to everybody.
Well, Brent, I think along those lines too, we have to set expectations, right?
Yep.
So I can remember in managing agents and seeing them with other managers as well. They maybe they call the manager doesn't answer, they just hang up and call somebody else, right? You know, like sometimes me. And I'm like, why didn't you ask the broker? Well, I couldn't get a hold of the broker. Did you leave a message? Did you text them? Did you give them time to call you back?
Right.
No, they didn't answer when I called. Therefore, they're not accessible. So I think, you know, setting those expectations is early on. Like with clients, you know, I let them know after 9 p.m., the call is the next day. Real estate's not life or death, right? So after 9. Now, like Evan, when I was managing, it was closer to 24/7. But I think you have to set those expectations, or they're always trying to call at 9:30 and telling the other realtors they can't get a hold of their realtor.
Don't you also think with our new world that we're seeing today as well, that situation you just explained, Lee, is actually almost worse? Because when I can't get you right away, I have so many sources today to go to. So on an agent, I can jump on a Facebook group. I can, you know, ask in one of these, you know, thank you. That face was for all of us. You know, I can jump on any of these other chat things. I can, you know, I mean, I can call my last instructor like one of us out there. Clients, the same way. When you don't answer me right away, I can jump on. Wait, highlight her for a minute, Brent, will you? So when I say that, so I can jump on Zillow. So, and I can jump on realtor.com. I don't care where else you jump on your, I mean, there's just the world we live in today. There is accessibility. It's just maybe not appropriate accessibility.
Well, that's my point. Is it necessary to be accessible all the time? That's what I'm trying to get to. Both Lee and Evan said, hey, to my clients, it's not life or death, but to my agents, I'm open 24 hours.
Right.
Well, is it life or death for them? That's my question. Evan?
Well, I think what Lee said about, was it Lee that said business decision, or was that you, Brent?
That was me.
Yeah. Okay. And then she kind of backed that up. I think run your business the way you want. Just run it that way on purpose, and you'll find out if you're setting expectations with your clients that you're available for 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week, you might find out that you can't run a business that way, and have to adjust. But the opposite of being like reactive about it and just, hey, oh my God, the phone's ringing, the bell rings, I have to drop everything and pick up the phone. That's no way to run a business or live a life, right? So just decide and then let your clients know how you work. And then, you might have like VIP or special people that, deserve special attention. Again, that's a business decision. You just got to kind of take charge of it and then let people know what they can expect. Because what Jody was saying about if you're not available, they're going to find some other way to get the answer. I think that's less likely to happen if they know that you're not available now, but you will be this afternoon or tomorrow morning, right?
Get it.
Absolutely.
That's what I was getting at. Is it's a doing more than showing, or doing more than saying, I guess. And they need to know that you're going to be reliable enough to get back to them. I think that's the key.
Right.
Yeah, because life and death isn't timing. It's just that you are accessible, right? So you could say a client doesn't need the answer to how many bedrooms this house they just saw online is, or that an agent doesn't need to know about a closing taking place 6 weeks from now. But they do need the information, both of them, at some point in time. So if they aren't ever getting the information from you, that then becomes a problem and looks like total lack of accessibility.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think as far as them being able, clients and agents, being able to get information other places, that, that's something else that we set the expectation on. With clients, with buyers and sellers, I just always go ahead and hit it head on. At the first meeting, I'm like, okay, I know you're going to be on Zillow. I get it. It's fun. It's user friendly. I get it. But if you find something you're interested in, something you need solid information on, call me, because what you're getting there isn't necessarily accurate. But I tell them up front, so they've got permission. They go do what they're going to do. But anything they're depending on, they're verifying with me.
Works. I mean, I like that.
I'd love to hear from some of the people that are on here live, and then people later can put it in the chat feature. What do they think of? So if I got agents on, how accessible are they to clients? If I have, are they setting parameters? Because I love, Evan stated them right up front. Lee, anytime you call her, basically her parameters are on her voicemail. That's what it says right out there. So I'd love to know what everyone else thinks as they chat in here.
Well,
right?
part of it's easy use, though. I'm a big fan of the drafts in my email, and accessibility to me is, I got your answer. I may get your voicemail or your text message, but I can pull snippets or total drafts and complete everything that I need to in a matter of seconds, just by cut and paste.
But can you drill down on that a little bit more? What do you mean by that? Like, you have saved like templates or paragraphs or
automatic responses. Yeah. I mean, in your business, in your everyday world, to some degree, you get the same questions over and over in one or two different formats. So, the way that I look at it is if I get 3 calls about one thing, then I need to create some sort of automated response. I've done it via video. I've done it via email. I've done it via drafts. So on my phone, whether it's a text message or an email, I just have the draft that we cut and paste. So it's a really easy and effective way to, I'm in a meeting. I know you ask this question immediately. I can reply to the email and boom, here it is. So it's those kind of things that again, for me, I'm less inclined to answer my phone, but you tell me what you need and I'm going to get you the information that you need. I mean,
I love Brent that you said like video. I mean, imagine if I asked this question, which feels like it's unique to me, right? And I need this answer. And it's canned to you. You get it over and over and over again, as you just expressed. And I get a video back from you that not only answers my question, it made you seem super accessible to be using that kind of technology, but I'm impressed. And we all know that. So everybody knows Bom Bom that can do that. There's a new one out that's competing with Bom Bom now, Bonjoro, which is basically the same type of thing and less expensive, as most competitors usually are. So you can check those out.
So you're talking about services where you can email out videos, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So he can create them as canned and send them out to me, or because they're mobile, if I'm an agent or, Evan, you're on the road, right? So you're out traveling to, well, imagine, Evan, you get on a plane.
I remember those days.
Do you remember those?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Way in my rear view.
Yeah. If everybody's seen the meme, I can't wait to walk down the aisle again. It's an airplane aisle,
yeah.
But if you're on the road, imagine just in the airport, you pull that up, right? And answer that because you know the answer, because Brent just said you get it over and over and over again. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So I have a question, and I know I'm veering off topic a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway. So Jody, I have always had, I'm going to display my tech ignorance here. I've always had a problem with Bom Bom and those kinds of things because I don't understand if I'm just sending that video to one person, what is the benefit of Bom Bom is instead of just doing it from my phone? I mean, I can video on my phone and send that to someone.
But a couple of things. Now it's a multiple step instead of just doing it all in one in the app. So the app does in essence both the email and the video. The second is the way they embed it. It has a bigger chance to be received and opened through firewalls, and that is my understanding, or that's what they claim.
Yeah.
Right?
What about analytics?
Oh, it has the analytics. Great.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're sending something to a bunch of people at once, then I get that. But I'm thinking, like, I get like agents, I get internet leads. And I have a video in my phone that is me saying, hey, I'm with clients, I'm on an appointment right now, but I will call you back just as soon as I can. Until then, check out my website. And I just send it to that one number. And so to me, going through Bom Bom or something just seems like an extra step.
I think I'd agree with the guys. I think that's a great step. And again, I think that their claim to fame only is that your video will be snagged in a huge amount of firewalls because people will have given you enough in cases work, so they work at IBM, and you're sending it to Bob Smith at IBM.com, it won't make it through IBM's firewall.
Well, you could also look at it the same way that you look at emails, right? If you're going to email one person, fine. But if you're going to email a group, then you're going to be using, MailChimp or Constant Contact or some sort. It just depends what you need. But I think this is a great way to build content. If you have clients contacting you and asking you a question that's likely that other people will have that answer, that's a great opportunity to make a video and have it be public, build content, on your website, for example, and drive people to your website and get a lot of use out of it that way. What are you smiling about, Jody?
Because it's like Brent changed the word with his comment from accessible to content. Content, that word keeps coming in.
Content.
Hey, Brent, do we call that a pivot?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
in case everyone out there is wondering in Facebook land and that, Brent won't let us do that word. If you're wondering why we haven't done that word yet.
I do have a mute function, team, and I'm not afraid.
Everybody else is using it. Yeah.
Well, does it make you appear or feel more accessible if you're out there in video? Like if somebody contacts you and you direct them to a video, is that being more accessible, or is that the opposite? And that's not a loaded question. I'm just curious what you think about that.
I think it's a piece of the puzzle. I mean, it's to answer Lee's question and your question, Evan. I mean, part of the reason that you use part of the Bom Bom or the constant contact, whatever it is the automation piece. So Lee, it's not just about one email. It's not just about one video. What we can do from that same lead is you can send that email, or you can send that video, put them in an automation, and 2 days later or the next day they get another email and another one and another one, whether it's video, audio. So you can continuously do that. And that's part of systems and that's kind of where, that's where a lot of our business is I want to be as accessible as possible, but I don't really like picking up the phone. I don't mind talking to you, but I want you to, operate in my world. I don't want to operate in your world. Now I'll acquiesce in most cases, but to the extent that I can set those boundaries, there you go, Evan. I want to be able to do that. But I do that through automation, through drafts, through, to be able to get that information that you need as quickly as possible. Instead of me having to take 10 minutes to say the same thing to 10 different people.
So Bom Bom, I would use maybe like a drip campaign.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
y'all.
It's interesting, Brent, what you just said though, is that your boundaries set up, your system set up not only boundaries, but set up a better working environment for you.
Sure.
Which then accessibility is efficient.
Well, that's what people think. People think accessibility is picking up the phone, which I would agree with that, but that's not the only thing. And that's kind of where, when I hear that definition of accessibility, to me, it's less about picking up the phone and it's more about getting people the information that they need in a timely manner. Answering the question.
So maybe you all can help with this. Tiffany said in the comments that she gives her clients undivided attention. And I know that's true. She doesn't answer the phone when she's with the client.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like she's got that kind of worked out, but she says she does tend to jump on whatever somebody needs any time of the day. So she needs to work on her kind of shutting down. What advice would you have for her?
Well,
do as I say, not as I do.
Well, I learned a long time ago a lesson about complete my circles. And the way it was explained to me, and I'll explain it to you now, is I'm sitting at and this is going to date me, but I'm sitting at my desk and I've got a stack of files, right? So I open one file and I start working and the phone rings. And so I pull that file to work in that file and talk on the phone. And pretty soon I got a stack of files all open on each other, right? Mm-hmm. So what I've got to do is I have the one file open and I'm working, the phone rings and I go, great. And I write it down and say, I'll be back to you in this amount of time. And I finish this file and close it before I open the other one. So at the end of the day, I feel like I've done things, but I've also responded to my clients.
And that's what it is, Tiffany. To me, it's an acknowledgement, and that's my business. I did it earlier. I got an email asking to call me immediately, and it was 15 minutes before this started. So sent her an email back saying, "I got your email." So she's not just waiting. I've acknowledged that I got it. I got something to do for the next hour, but know that you're going to be the first call that I make when I get off this. And I've been doing that for years, and it seems to work just fine. I mean, everybody, as long as you acknowledge that you received, the problem is it gets in our voicemail or our inbox or our text message, and we look at it and we go, oh, I'll get back to it. Well, they don't know you're going to get back to it. That's the problem.
I think you nailed it, Brent. Because if you think about sorry, Jody, if you think about being that person who's waiting, it's endless if you haven't gotten a reply. But if you get the reply that says, I'm just walking into a meeting, I'll get back to you in an hour or an hour and a half or whatever the number is, then you can move on and know that and then of course you have to back that up and fulfill your commitment, right? But as the person waiting, once you get that, it's like a relief. Okay, I'm in the queue, I got their attention.
Jody.
Sorry, Jody.
I was going to add that I said this afternoon in a class, and a shout out to Sarah, who came from my class to this. So I appreciate that. She's listening to me more than she wants to. But I said analyzing your things not done is really important task for you to accomplish, which may show you that and I'll steal Lee's phrase of you didn't close the circles. I actually shared how many times you guys all call me out on the fact that I don't do something because and I shared with them, you guys love to tag me on that word research. I'm in that doing, right? So a lot of times when people doesn't seem accessible, they're actually got really poor systems. And because they have no analysis of their system in place, they're just going on day to day and they don't acknowledge it themselves, and they don't have any outside source that does. And so when people say to me, I can't get my broker, I say to them, have you had a conversation with them about that? Because if it is truly a flaw on their part, they may not have anything in place to tell them that their systems don't work.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. I think I want to go back to what I was saying about depending on the audience, so you brought up, the broker, and I know you, Jody, I know you like Michael Port. He wrote a book. I'm trying to remember what the book is called, but he talked about the velvet rope, that, your most special people in your world are the ones that you open the velvet rope and they let in, So I think if you establish how you're working, but also be really mindful of who the most important people are to you. And that's kind of like how I feel with my agents, is they're going to come through the rope because we're together in it, and so maybe you might have, your A clients and your B clients or whatever. But don't you think that works, Jody, to have separate?
I think that's really good. As long as the people know that they have permission and are more than invited through the velvet rope. I don't want someone standing out there going, well, who does Evan think he is? Because I'm not specially invited when you intended me to be,
Okay.
And I'll have to go over here and look through my bookcase because I have all of Michael's books and the name is not coming to me.
Well,
yeah,
I think we forget, in this digital age, that a text or an email conversation, those are still conversations. And so, Brent was saying that he sends a reply that says, essentially, I'll be right with you. It's the same thing as when you go into, I don't know, the post office, right? And you step up to the counter and the person behind the counter is on the phone or they're running to do something, whatever. They don't acknowledge you standing there. Well, that just pisses you off.
Right.
I mean, the least they could do is say, I'll be right with you. Be right back, something. And it's no different digitally. So Brent's immediate response, even if it is canned, is acknowledging that someone's there and needs him. And then, as you've all said, you still got to follow through.
Yeah. As I think about it, that's probably the most common email and text message that I send is, I'm doing something right now. I will get back to you in X amount of time.
Well, what advice would you have? Because I know in teaching buyer consultations, we talk a lot about setting expectations up front. So what advice would you all have for people that are agents who are reluctant to say, hey, I'm closed on this day or during these hours, for fear of losing a client or whatever? Like, is that a confidence thing, or how do you overcome that?
I think it's about respect. How do you expect your clients to respect you if you don't respect yourself?
Ooh, I like it. Very good.
Yeah. And
Do I need to change my background to that Texas flag, y'all?
Drop the mic. You're good.
I'm going to add to that. It is trust, or as you said earlier, the velvet rope, giving you permission. And which means that for an agent, I'm not looking for cold prospecting. I'm looking to nurture and develop trust, in which it starts out even warm, working my sphere of influence, etc. From that, and in a broker to their agents, right? It's trust that you will answer my question. And by the way, I think that for most of us, we need an emergency back door, because every once in a while there is an emergency, right? And trust has to be built that you won't use it otherwise. But you have to say to your clients, I don't work on Sundays, right? But if you have an emergency, right, it is, here's my cell phone number, and text it to me. I silenced everyone.
I know. I mean, to answer the question, it is confidence. I mean, I think it's trying to figure out, what you want to do. And I think a lot of eager people will say, to me, it's not an advantage to say, call me anytime. I don't know, and if I'm just meeting someone on the opposite end, I'm probably less inclined to say, okay, these are my hours. I think there's a way where you can have that conversation. Say, hey, when you send me a text, I'm going to do my best to enable to get back to you. Sometimes I'm busy, but trust, I'm going to get back to you. And that's part of the confidence, where I know that I'm going to get back to you. So I do think there's a sense of confidence in that. But I've said many times, when you say, call me anytime, they're going to call you anytime. And that's no way to live, is to be, and to some degree, by saying you're going to respond, that instead of you being on their time, they're on your time, and you're much more able to be more efficient in your day about that. Because a lot of times when people call me, I'm not in a place where I can get them the information that they need. I don't have enough time to get them the information that I need. So, I had a call yesterday where I know exactly who it was. I knew exactly who they wanted, but I was in the car and what I needed was at my desk. So I did not answer the phone. I probably should have, but typically I would have answered the phone and said, hey, I know what you need. I'm not in my office. Instead, I sent them a text message, say, look, I'm 10 minutes away. I'm going to call you back when I have time to talk. So that's part of it as well, is just trying to set that expectation.
Yeah, I think it's very easy for us to, especially with clients, in trying to be accessible, to become what I'm trying to, I know we're on air. I want to get my words good. I think it's very easy for us to become real estate prostitutes. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. Explain it. Dig this hole deeper.
So, being that accessible all the time, seeming desperate, for the money, and maybe not even for the money, but just for the attention and the recognition.
Thirsty, being thirsty.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Thank you, Evan. We do it with the conversation, but then also completely different topic, but our fees, how we set our fees, and how we set our rules, and what we do with those. We're often quick to give it away for free, right?
I have a good friend who can say that quite eloquently, because she has a British accent, and she says it all.
I was waiting for anybody to help me, because if we weren't live on air, I would be using different words, and you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I couldn't help you out because I can't do the British accent, and it therefore wouldn't have been as eloquent as when Val says it.
I think Brent was actually enjoying not helping you on that.
That was
lady.
fun.
I know he
Had a really
was.
good time.
Yeah, I
Riley,
appreciate
killer.
that.
I love it.
I'm used to y'all backing me up. I should have known.
No,
You
I
know,
like-
Brent
this
said a
fun.
word that clicked with me too about accessibility. He said the word time, and I immediately thought of something else that makes accessibility seem like it is not there and that. And you know, some people are morning people and some people are evening people. A lot more real estate agents are evening people. I found. I always joke that's why I had to leave selling, because you people kept calling me at 9 o'clock when I was a blathering idiot and didn't let me call you at 6 a.m. when I'd been up for 2 hours, you know? Yeah. And so when you have a very different schedule of your client or your broker or them of you, et cetera, it makes accessibility have this sort of imaginary look as if it isn't there.
I can see that.
What do you mean? I'm not sure I follow.
So I text you, Evan, my broker, at 6 a.m. because, you know, I'm up, and Evan actually is up and would answer me then. But, you know, but you don't get up till like 10, and then it's a good hour till 11 till you've had your coffee and you can really answer me. And then you get busy doing something else. So it's 9 o'clock or 10:30 before you actually answer me. Now, you know, certainly less than a day has gone by. But to me, it seems like you're not accessible because I don't even get that at 10:30. I'm sound asleep, right?
Oh,
I
I
don't
see.
get it till the next day. And then I have a question, I can't answer you back. And it just starts to deteriorate. So I imagine that you're not accessible because we have these very different time frames that are going.
Gotcha.
That goes into something we talked about, I guess, either last week or the week before, is self-awareness. You know, and there's, you know, there's particularly with technology, there's no way that you can work around that. I'm not a morning person or I'm not a night person is a cop out. That's please. I'm not a night person, but you're going to get a response. So, I mean, you may not get a phone call, but you're going to get a response. If it's midnight, you're not getting a response. But for the most part, you know, I'm not a morning or a night person. I don't think, you know, in today's day and age, that's weak. Give me something better.
Well, don't you think if you're having the conversation up front, whether it's with buyers or sellers, or even agents for that matter, if you're a manager, if you're having the conversation up front, then it resolves itself. It resolves itself to either this
Correct.
is how we're going to work together or we're not compatible. But it's when you're not having the conversation that it ends in, you know, hurt feelings and trash talk and all that negative stuff.
And clients as well. I mean, it extends to clients as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're only going to work with morning people or night people, again, my guess is that's going to be an unfortunate business decision on your behalf.
Because even my good friend Bill and I say we have like a good solid meal together. He calls it lunch. I call it dinner.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm down with that. I like dinner, early to bed, early to rise. So
hey, I know we're going to be wrapping up pretty quick, and I wanted to say to everybody that is watching and participating, thank you. But also, if you have ideas for words, please send those in. We've gotten a couple of suggestions and would love more. That way I don't get put on the spot again because I had to pick a word, right? And
Oh, you got broad shoulders.
yeah,
we've got
today was
some good guests coming up too, y'all. You know,
We've got a few good ones coming up.
So who are we've got quite a few. Jason Marquis from Alabama and Florida.
Yep.
Be on John Mayfield.
Yep. Holly
John
Mabry.
Smavey.
John Smavey. Yep.
Yep. And I know there's more. They're just not coming to mind.
So don't forget, everyone who's listening live now with us or recording, don't forget to like the page, everyone. So hit that button up above to like it, and then turn on your notifications so you know when we're live as well, so that you can find those sessions live and join us with your comments and get a shout out from us, like Tiffany and Sarah and some of the other people that are on today.
Oh, you know what else let's put, so you can also find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. and maybe somewhere else. I don't know.
Instagram.
Maybe Instagram, right? The gram, that's what the kids are calling it.
Instagram.
Y'all are cracking me up with this commercial business. I love it.
But the thing is, well, it's hard to find us right now though. So we need to put those links in the comments.
Yeah. And like us, follow us, subscribe to us, whatever. So not only you can find us again, but others can find us as well.
Show some support for these old folks. We're trying.
That's right. Just do all the things in all the ways. So, all right, team. Well, let's wrap this baby up. What we got? So, Jody, final thoughts. What is your actionable item for accessibility?
My actionable item is look at who you should be accessible to, brokers, to your agents, clients, etc. Look who you should be accessible for. Understand what I love you. I'll use the word boundaries. Understand your boundaries and make sure that's an integral part of your conversation over and over and over again till everyone hears it.
Yes.
Evan?
Yeah, for something actionable, I would say pick your day off. Choose what day of the week that you're going to be taking off. Choose your business hours, and then figure out how you're going to introduce those hours to your clients in conversation, and be ready to explain it, and then honor your family and your private life by sticking to those days off.
Yeah.
And hours.
Love it. Perfect. Lee, take us home since I picked on you pretty much for the 45 minutes.
That's cool. I would, my thing is look from the other perspective. For those people that need to be accessible to you, just remember that they may feel that they're accessible, that your definition and their definition may not be matching up. And if that's the case, have a conversation, ask them, but, cut them some slack. Don't just, don't just mark them off because they have a different definition than you do.
Agreed. Well, that was awesome. What a good one, team.
Thank
everybody for tuning in to In Other Words. We'll see you right back here next week. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all the things.
Oh, nice plug.
All the things. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.